on Monday, February the 10th, 2025, at 5:30 p.m. to order. Members present are David, Brett, Kenny, Jennifer, and Susan. At this time, we move on to the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer by Riley Williams.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we are gathered here today to have this board meeting. I just want to pray and ask for your wisdom to be blessed upon us, for your will to be done. In heaven's sweet name, amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Riley. She's out of here. Okay, at this time we move on to the approval of the minutes from the January 13th, 2025 meeting.
Any changes?
No changes.
Make a motion to approve minutes.
I'll second. Motion made by Kenny, seconded by Jennifer to approve the minutes as listed from the January 13th, 2025 meeting. Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Brett?
Abstain.
And Susie, yes. At this time we move on to approval of encumbrances.
Okay, the very first on the general fund, PO 289, that was for a broken fiber at the middle school for $33.46. It was where they redid the roof. It just finally just broke. We could wait till the summer and use E-rate, but I don't think our fifth grade teachers would be too happy with that internet thing. So we just had to pay for that one. Kind of another big one, 295 to Holt Truck. That was a brake booster replacement for $8,600. To even work on that, you've got to have the software. They use that software to shut the solenoids down and all that to even work on it.
Is that for a bus?
Yeah. That's not something we can do. PO 300, that's just a general maintenance blanket for air conditioning and HVAC. We've had quite a bit this year, and I'm sure it'll keep going when we fire the air conditioners back up. PO 305, that's for the Carl Perkins for ag. They're getting some welders. PO 310 and 311, that's for football. That's for the supplies, the helmets, reconditioning, and all that. PO 315, that's for the grade school, the new edition, and the old, for some furniture, for some whiteboards, tables, desks, some felt boards, some marker boards, things like that. PO 317, that is for the grade school, some cubbies and some storage for the classroom for the new and the old edition. PO 322, that's a blanket PO for the rest of the year for our uniforms, mops, mats, and all that. On the PO 80118, that's a blanket payroll encumbrance for our trip drivers, game duty, and any overtime for the rest of the year. Just kind of a blanket payroll encumbrance. 80119, first class teacher induction program. That's for our mentors and the first, second, third year teachers. 80120, letter stipend. That is for training that the grade school teachers do in letters. 80121 is for a national board certification payroll encumbrance, and 80122 and 80123 are for our two new 21st century teachers. On child nutrition, PO 23 just for general food supplies. PO 24s for mats, mops, and all that for the cafeteria, and then PO 25 is reimbursement for the food handlers permit. And those are our encumbrances.
Make a motion we approve the encumbrances.
Second.
Motion made by David, seconded by Brett to approve the encumbrances as listed. David?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Moving on to other financial reports.
Do the shuffle.
Yeah. Just
Hang on.
Thank you.
you'll have to scroll through their stuff.
Don't look at that.
Yep.
They'll go through that a little bit.
That's a good. Yeah.
Okay.
Figure this out already.
All right, other financial reports.
Fast.
This month, we're at a 107,826, and I wanted to show kind of like, back in 22-23, you'll see that big jump. This is when we started paying for our SRO in January, so that's half their salary, and that's why there was that big jump. Payroll, we're up about 16,000 for the month, about kind of like we've been each month, so we're going in good shape there. But as you can see, for the past 5 years, we're still pretty even, pretty close to where we are. Our next one, you can look at our general fund. We're a healthy general fund. Everything's going pretty good. We've got some things we have to look at for next year. Right now, everything's really healthy. Building fund, we got our first property tax of $120,000. Normally, that's going to be about $200,000. So right now, we have 1.691. We have about $700,000 left on the new building. So we're going to be, we'll enter at about one before we start our Red Bud fund. We got our allocation for our Red Bud, and last year they did a half this month and then half in June. Our first, hopefully half, is $263,000. So if that's true, it'll be about, if that's half, and then next year we get half, it'll be about $115,000 more than last year's. So that is really good news. So hopefully that'll happen. But that'll put us, after we pay for the building and everything, pretty close to, 1.4, 1.5, so real healthy. On the child nutrition fund, we're at 103. Last month we were at 56, so that is, we got our claims, caught up on our claims, so I think everything's going really well right now. And we have the auditor, so I'm going to back this back up.
Everything good with all the grant funds on the new building too, where we got everything
that's
submitted,
all
encumbered and everything?
All been encumbered and they've already sent it to us and it's done, closed out. So
Good.
now we just got to go through the audits for the next 10 years. But, hey, we're in good shape.
All right.
Good shape. Okay.
Are you there? Is this Jan? Okay, Jan, I'm going to put you on speaker. Okay, let her make a motion. Hold on a second.
This time we move on to the Carrie John Patton CPA fiscal year 24 audit. She is on the phone and ready to go, I guess.
Jan, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you guys hear me okay?
Can you guys hear her?
I can.
How about now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Well, I'm Jan Schilling, and I'm with Carrie Patton's office, and I'm going to do your exit conference tonight, and we're going over your audit for as of June 30th, 2024. Maybe a lot of you may have booklets that if you want to follow along, we'll just go page by page. And if you have questions along the way, you feel free to stop me anytime, and we'll go over it in more detail if I go too fast or something like that, or can't hear. So if you'll start with page 1, we'll start with the independent auditor's report. And this particular report talks to you a lot, about 3 pages long, and it talks to you about our opinions. The first thing you see on the second paragraph there is the qualified opinion on a regulatory basis of accounting. That's what you fall under as a district, is you fall under the regulatory basis of accounting with the State Department of Education. And we, in our opinion, based on that, we feel like that the statements are fairly presented in all material respects, and the assets and liabilities and fund balance arising from the regulatory basis of transactions are reported properly. The next paragraph talks about an adverse opinion in the U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. And this particular paragraph we're required to put in there only because you are on a regulatory basis of accounting, and when you fall under the regulatory basis, you don't have to account for your fixed assets in your financial records, and so in your statements. And so because of that, we have to put that paragraph in there to let the public know that that's just our standards say that if you don't have the fixed assets in there, then you have to have an adverse opinion as our statements say. And so our standards require you're not doing anything wrong. you operate just like you're supposed to. We just have to put this in there for protection. And so just to let people know, basically. And so we conduct our audit with, we take samples throughout the area of financial accounting that you do at school. We don't see every piece of paper that goes across the desk, but we do measure samples to see that we're looking at enough information that we can base an opinion that your statements are fairly stated and without material statements in there. And that's what we do as we go through. These are your records at the district, and that's your responsibility. It falls in your lap. You're the management is the responsibility for the financial statements. On that second page, it talks about that. And that just means that, they're the people that put them all together and run reports for us and get all the information that we get so that we can have an opinion about what's going on with your financial statements. They do a great job, always get us the information that we're asking for, and we usually ask for a lot of information. So we really appreciate the extra effort that they have to go through to get us all the information. And then we talked to you a little bit about our auditors' responsibilities. And again, it's mainly to get samples and to make sure that they're presented fairly and the statements are accurate. We'll go to the first schedule, which is page 4. And page 4 is just an overview of your cash and investments in general fund. That special revenue fund consists of building fund and child nutrition and debt service, trust and agency. That's your activity account, and then a total amount there. So again, we've got cash in all those funds, investments, outstanding warrants and encumbrances, and then we go down next to the bottom. You see total fund balance. And that's your fund balance for each of those groups of funds. If you look at the next page, to me this gives you a lot more information about your funds. Again, you've got general, special revenue, and debt service there. Revenues collected, and those revenues collected give you all the various sources of revenue that you get in. Expenditures that are paid out, and so there's a lot of different areas that money goes out to pay bills with. And you go down toward the bottom, you have the beginning of the year and the end of the year. As you can see, that general fund grew substantially, and that's really good and will be needed in the future. So I'm glad that you guys were able to do that. Your special revenue also went up. We'll see which one that is as we go through the audit. We'll see that broken into parts in a little bit. And then your debt service there went up a little bit, but that's just because it got some local sources in there. If you go to the next page, 6, this one's a combined statement of revenues collected, expenditures paid, and changes in fund balance. So what we do, we take that general fund and the special revenue, but we break that apart later on. You see it in an individual building fund and child nutrition in a minute. The general fund starts with an original budget. That original budget is your estimate of needs information. That's what we come up with to start with, what we think the revenues are going to be collected based on information from the State Department and the federal government and local sources that you get, and expenditures that are probably going to be going out. Final budget column, that's exactly the same as your original. We put that in there in case you get some extra money during the year that you need to appropriate. You have to have a place to do that. And so in your case, you didn't, because both of them are the same. So, and then we have your actual column, which was in the previous schedule. Again, that original, final, and actual in that special revenue. And we're going to go over that in detail in just a minute. The next part is the notes to the financial. And the notes to the financial are pretty lengthy. There's a lot of information here, a lot of definitions, and a lot of, like I said, a lot of information, and it goes over all kinds of topics that you might hear in financial reporting at your school or other places, businesses that you may go to, meetings pertaining to school business. And so if you're ever kind of interested in what some of these things are people talk about, you might be able to find some information there. If you go over to page 14, I won't go over all those with you because they're kind of lengthy. On page 14 at the top, we show you what your general long-term debt is, and you've got a lease payable out there that's got, looks like it ended up with a zero balance, so you've got one payment that was outstanding as of July 1st of 23, and then you paid that off, and that leaves you without a debt service there. The rest of that page talks about employee retirement system, and this comes out of the teacher's retirement booklet. It's just a little information about the various topics that you see there. It gives you some a little brief topics or information about those things so that you get an idea about where that money comes from and what's happening to it while it's there. At the top of page 15 is the annual pension cost for you. So we give it to you, and we keep 2 years running and give you your new amount up front. There's the 24 amount, then 23 and 22, you see. And your total payroll for 23 and 24 and what it amounted to. The next section is litigation. Litigation, just this short paragraph, we're always glad to see that because we ask whenever we're out at the school about if we have any lawsuits going on that could affect your financial records, and they tell us no, and we don't see any record of that, then we're happy with that and glad that you don't have any lawsuits that's going to bother you. Risk management is the next part, and this is talks a little bit about different information that your information about your insurances that you have to protect property there at school. Your surety bonds are listed on the bottom of page 15. These bonds are required by law for these positions, and so we list the positions and the amounts that they're bonded for, and these have to be renewed every year. On page 16, this is the schedule that breaks that special revenue apart for you. You got a building fund and a child nutrition that's listed there. We have cash and investments in that building fund and cash in the general child nutrition fund. And you scroll on down toward the bottom, you see your fund balance there for each for building fund and child nutrition. Again, the next page gives you a little more information about those funds. It tells you where those revenues are coming from, the sources that they come from, and expenditures that are paid out of. And then you have a beginning of the year and an end of the year. So your beginning of the year for building fund, you see what you started out with, and then what you ended up with, and you have good growth there. So that's a plus, and that's a good thing. It'll help you in the long run. Child nutrition down a little bit. That's pretty common because that it's not a fund that you just gather money in often. And just to say, as you see this schedule, and you wonder how you get all that apart and how we have sources like that and expenditures. Well, that your staff does that, and that's that coding that they have endless chores all day long, coding monies that come in and expenditures that go out, and every one of them, every transaction has a long coding list that has to be attached to it. So that's how they are able to run reports and get the information for us. So on page 18, this is the agency funds and these and private trust funds that you have there. Gift fund you have, we show your cash and investments. Your activity fund is the next column, and down toward the bottom, total fund balances. You see what those are in both gift fund and activity fund. We'll go over that activity fund in detail for you in a minute. The next page is the gift and endowment fund with a little bit of a more information, your interest and donation that makes up that revenue coming in, and instruction what was paid out for your trust fund. And then toward the bottom, you have a beginning of the year and an ending balance, so pretty close to what you started with. Page 20, the building fund, that's or that special revenue again, and you have an original and final budget. Those two amounts stayed the same all year, so you didn't have any special money popping up that you didn't know about. And that actual column we've seen before in those earlier schedules. The next page is child nutrition, same kind of format there, original to final. Those numbers are the same, so we didn't have any extra money. And then the actual column that you see, we've seen before and talked about it. The next page, 22, this starts your schedule of federal awards expended. And so you see a lot of information on the far left side of the page there. That's all the title programs that you receive at Stigler School for help with kids and a lot of special things that get to happen because you get this money. And every one of these programs have many, many requirements. There's a lot of regulations. Of course, anything with the federal government has a lot of regulations. And so you have to abide by a lot of compliance requirements in each of these programs, and they're different. Your staff spends a lot of time organizing and getting things ready for that so they can, spend that money throughout the year and be in compliance with the federal government, with agreeing. You as a board approve at the beginning of the year every one of these programs and the budget that comes along with it, and they have to follow that budget. Almost every one of the programs that you see are spend first and get the money back, and so you get a reimbursement. So your staff has to be extra cautious about spending the money, making the claim to the entity that's going to return it to you, and getting that money back and making sure it comes back to your school. Because you're just kind of loaning it to them until they get it back. So they are really good at that. You see asterisks beside some of these programs, and that's because they're what we consider major programs. You're a single audit, you get more, or you expend more than $750,000 a year, and so you fall into a different category. And we look at these categories different because we look at those particular funds that are projects that you see asterisks by in a lot more detail, and determine we have a lot of other things to check for when they're major programs. And so we look at all your programs, but again, those we have a lot of extra time spent on those. In the middle of the page, you see some numbers with parentheses around them, and that's just simply because at the end of July 1st of 23, we'd had a claim made, but it hadn't been paid yet. So we check to see that money comes in and your school gets that money back as reimbursement. Same application on the far right side. As of the end of the year, you may have had a claim outstanding that had yet to come in. And so you see receipts and expenditures throughout there for each of those programs. On the next page, we continue that. You see child nutrition, and you see other different types of programs. And you'll see under the expenditure column on page 23, right toward the bottom, total federal assistance, you had $3,637,619.58 in expenditures for the year of 24. So that's quite a bit of extra special programs that you get for the kids that gives them a lot of extra opportunities, and it's a lot of work on your staff, but they do a really good job keeping up with all of that. Page 24 is the notes to the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. Again, it just talks a little bit about that CFA page that we just looked at, and the CFA page is just the acronym for Schedule of Expenditure of Federal Awards. Page 25 and 26, these are your activity funds sub-accounts. And you ought to recognize these sub-accounts because they, you approve them as a board at the first of the year. You approve that they exist. You approve why they want to have a fundraiser, the reasons they need it for, and what type of fundraiser they're going to have. So that comes about, and then they go about having their fundraiser, and they get all their money and try turning it in a good period of time. And your staff has to have a lot of extra help there trying to get those pulled in and training your people, your sponsors, to get money turned in time. So they work really hard at that, trying to get that done. There's always lots of money. If you look at that second page, it was $853,183.44 turned in as deposits throughout the year in all of those various sub-accounts that you have there. So we put your balance, your deposits, transfers, and disbursements, and then your balance at the end of the year, so you see that differences there for each of your sub-accounts. On page 27, we've got a couple of governmental auditing reports that have to go in that are required. The first one you see is the independent auditor's report on internal controls over financial reporting and on compliance and other matters based on an audit of financial statements performed in accordance with government auditing standards. That's what we use. And so in this letter, we talked to you a little bit about that we have audited your district, and that we are looking as a regulatory basis of accounting, and that we're testing it and planning to see that that the financial statements are appropriate, and that the deficiencies aren't there, and that you have controls in place that keep the financial statements in good shape. And if there were problems, we would be talking to you about it in here in the internal control over financial reporting part. And under the compliance and other matters, we look at compliances in all areas that your financial records go through, and we want to make sure that you're following the compliance, your staff is, and the rules and regulations from the State Department, the federal government, and your policies that take place. So we look at those. And if there were information you needed to know about, we would tell you. There is one schedule of comments on page 34 of the reports that we'll read about in just a second. And so, again, the purpose of the report is to solely describe the scope of our work of the testing of the internal controls and compliance of the testing. On page 29, this particular report talks about the compliance for each major program and on internal controls over compliance. We talked a little bit earlier about all the compliance requirements for all those federal programs that you see. This particular letter tells you the opinion that we have an opinion on each major program and a basis of opinion for the major programs and how we go about looking at them. Responsibility of the management for compliance. It's that your management's responsibility to get the records done and get them for us to review. And again, that's what we do. We have professional judgment that we're looking at those records and making sure that they're in the order that we need to see them so we can test them and sample them. Report over internal controls of a compliance. If there were deficiencies, we'd be talking to you about that, and we did not find that. On page 32 is the schedule of finding and question costs. Here, this is a summary of the audit results, and it just gives it in a nutshell, sort of about eight, maybe seven different categories that it tells you about the audit findings or no audit findings. Looks a lot nicer. No instances of non-compliance of material to the financial statements, and it goes through there as you can look at it. We didn't have any audit findings relative to the major federal programs for Stigler School. It tells you what those major programs were. The ones in asterisks, that's what's going to be there for you. Your threshold was at $750,000. That's what makes you that single audit. On page 33 at the top of the page, you got the summary of prior year audit findings. That's blank, and that's good because nothing came up that was a repeat finding from the prior year. On page concerning the federal programs, on page 34, this is a schedule of comments, and there's one comment there, and it said the school did not always properly encumber purchases or charge appropriation accounts prior to or at the time of ordering goods or service. The recommendation for that, the state statute requires the school encumbrance clerk to properly encumber all purchases and charge the affected appropriation account at the time or prior to ordering of the goods or services. It also requires the Board of Education to approve the receiving agents and implement procedures to ensure receiving agents document receipt of merchandise receipts. Are there any questions regarding the comment or any other questions regarding the audit?
Hey, Jan, I got a quick question. On page 25,
Yes, let me get back there.
so I guess
Okay.
my question is, were all these funds raised through either fundraisers or school events? I mean, the tickets.
Yeah, all those funds are approved by you because you approve a fundraiser at the first of the year, and they take place during the year. They're fundraisers by those individual groups or sponsors. They have a sponsor, and they are individual groups at school that raise the money.
That's pretty impressive. I would have never dreamed the number would have been.
You probably get asked a lot for
Look at some of the
fundraiser
machines.
donations or to buy something from the kiddos. So everybody's always doing something that, kids have a lot of special things they like to do during the year, and the sponsors like to have money to do that with. And this is how it helps them to be able to fund those things. And then it's not coming out of the general fund or any other fund or tax-paying fund. It's actual fundraisers that are earned by the students. And like you said, events like ball games and such like that.
Okay. And then I think you've already answered these questions, but I'm going to ask them anyway. So
Okay.
there were no material misstatements?
That's right. No material misstatements. As I talked about earlier, if there were, we would go into detail in that first letter And then in the last letters that we went over in our audit, yes, there was no material misstatements.
Okay, and
And
then,
that doesn't tell you that there's no mistakes at all, because, you know, all of us are human and mistakes are made sometimes. And when we do our samples and we do our testing, we take that into consideration. If we see a pattern that we feel like that there's a problem and we need to address it, your staff is more than eager to get things right. And if we show them something they've done wrong or something they could improve on, they always want to do it and get there and do the best job they can. If we saw a problem there, we would be telling you that there was a problem and that procedures weren't being followed or something like that. And we did not see that. We had one small comment in there, and that was just, you know, something that we could improve upon.
okay, then my last question is, so, and I think you just answered it, but so there were no issues with getting the information you needed from this administration?
No, not at all. Never, no. They, you know, we ask for a lot of things ahead of time because we try to use the minutes we have in the office to try to get a few things organized and planned, and that's how we plan our audits. You know, what do we need to look at? What do we need to focus on? And they get us information so we can do that before we ever get there to go through the audit and go through their paperwork and visit with them about it. So they're very helpful, and anything we need, they get it for us.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys. I appreciate your questions, and I appreciate your help in letting us do this over the phone, and us being your auditors and your estimate of needs budget makers. We always enjoy working with your staff and your school. You do a good job. I think you have a piece of paper to sign that get back to us so we can get these filed properly and in a timely fashion. Again, we can't say good enough things about your staff because they do a good job, and we appreciate being able to work with you guys. Hope you enjoy your rest of your.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
That's good.
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd get to beat down on you or something.
What about
Do
this
sometime.
teacher retirement stuff anyways? What's that about?
I won't mess with that. It's a long time, we got a big crowd. Perk up at that.
Yeah, it's probably not the best time.
A lot of mad women in here.
Do you need a motion, I guess? I'll make a
Sure.
motion and we approve the audit as presented.
I'll second.
Motion made by Brett, seconded by David to accept the audit as presented tonight for fiscal year '24. Brett?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer? Yes. And Susie, yes. This time we move on to the presentation, site teachers, the student achievement data. I guess it's grade school, middle school, high school?
Yep.
Yes, all inclusive.
I think you'll be fine.
Always look
Going
forward
over
to
that
this. Always look forward to this.
You can do it anywhere.
I'll get that here.
Oh, let's see.
So much. Here.
So we'd like to talk to you just a little bit about the A through F report card. This is something that we've been working with for many years. We've gone to many meetings about the A through F, tried to learn a lot. And there's a lot of different components to the A through F report card. Within those components, there's a lot of formulas. It's a lot. And we, definitely want to hold ourselves accountable. We definitely want to do the best that we can. And so, but, we all know that takes place day by day in the classroom with our kids. So while we would like for this to reflect, accurately everything we achieve, we also know that it doesn't accurately reflect everything that is achieved at our school. But this is what we're held accountable with, and so this is what we just want to kind of show you, make you a little more familiar with it tonight.
Okay, so our first indicator is our academic achievement, and this covers the grades 3rd through 8th grade and 11th grade. If you'll look, the percentage of the students scoring will be basic, proficient, and advanced. And then they also, if you look at the percentage of students at each priority, the student group, down below, it breaks the students up in different groups. So you have an overall score, but then you also can go in there to each one of those groups and see how each of those groups scored and how the percentage of them weighted on our overall achievement.
Some of the tests that we take, 3rd through 8th, is measured with ELA and math and science. And then, so it's interesting with 11th grade testing. We have a state test for science. We also take a state test for history. However, on the State Department, I can't find anywhere where it is in the formula used on the A through F report card. So that's kind of interesting, something that is kind of a mystery. But then on the ACT, ELA and math is used. Let Valerie.
Okay, the next indicator is academic growth, grades 4 through 8. The amount of progress students are making between consecutive years based on individual state test scores in ELA and math. The performance levels are below basic, proficient, and advanced. Bands are divided into high and low level. Students can show progress by maintaining the same level or moving within or across a level, such as students scoring basic below in a previous year and then basic high in the current year.
Okay, and another indicator is chronic absenteeism. Again, this is something that we constantly try to work on improving. And we've talked about several things just in this next year that we've talked about by looking at other schools and what they've done, such as attendance incentives with testing and different things, because this is a big indicator on there. And good attendance equals 90% or more instructional days. And it's measured obviously to monitor lost instructional time, to gauge school climate and student engagement, to synergize family and community engagement around the importance of school, and identify and reduce barriers to regular school attendance. This is really difficult as we look in our elementary grades, right? Because those students have no control over how they get to school, you know, whether they're there or not. So we're constantly looking for ways to improve that. And of course, at the high school level, we have a little bit more there that we can do with incentives as far as that goes. That's something that we're looking on improving for sure. Another indicator is ELPA progress, and that's with our English learners. So they take a separate test that shows growth targets based upon that. And so that's something that we also are looking at. I think Coach Gilmore had some ideas on how to improve that within that indicator. And those initial growth targets are based on the student's baseline and the number of years they have to exit that program. And so they have targets that are recalculated each year. And this is similar to just like the demographic targets. So those scores are different based upon those targets. And one of the things that we constantly look at as well is our reporting. When those parents have to fill out those forms at the beginning of the year, are we getting those forms back? Is our information accurate? Because that directly affects our test scores, is what category those students are in, because the thresholds are different for each of those. So that's similar in this category.
So post-secondary opportunities, this is like if we offer AP coursework, or our students who are involved in like concurrent enrollment, internships, things like that. We have looked into, a few years ago, we looked into trying to start up like an internship type shadowing program, and that was going to be very, very involved and detailed, and hopefully we'll be able to look into that in the future. We have a ton of kids who are concurrently enrolled. Lots of our juniors and seniors, they take advantage of that, because, you know, that can give them kind of a boost when they're going into college after high school. And so, and it's financially a really good idea for them. So, so we have a lot of students who take advantage of that. And then graduation. So this is, it's kind of judged on whether a student graduates in 4, 5, or 6 years. So, you know, we have our, it used to be called the Alt Ed program, and, you know, Stigler Learning Academy, and I just came from there, and they were, you know, working and everything when I was there just a while ago. But we are judged on how many of our students, you know, graduate within a 4, a 5, or a 6 year span. Now, something that is very concerning, but is also, I feel like, totally up in the air. Oklahoma, because of an audit, a USDA DE audit, they have recently decided that we cannot count our core curriculum kids as graduates, which we have so many students who go to KTC. They are not on the college prep course, most of them. They're on the core curriculum program. And so because of that audit, now that's a federal audit though. And so we're wondering, now that they're talking about, you know, whether or not the federal Department of Education is going to even be a thing. And I just don't know what's going to happen with this. But it is definitely something that's of concern. We have many students who go to OSU IT, or, you know, they go to trade schools and they do very, very well. And so to think that they aren't counted towards our graduation rate is very disturbing to me. And hopefully it's something that is going to be resolved. We certainly hope in the future. So here's our scores. I'll let Tammy.
So our academic achievement overall for grade school was a C, and academic growth was a C. If you look at the percentage, we're on the higher end of the C. So we are doing different things this year in our academic achievement. Like for reading, we're doing different educational platforms. One thing that we started doing in our high dosage tutoring, we do that 3 days a week after school, and it's called a Mira. So it's just different steps you take to help them in their reading. It starts off at their learning ability, and it builds up. I've already seen growth in a couple of my students. They've already gone up almost at grade level with the Mira working on that. Their STAR scores, when we did that, you could see a few of them that had made that achievement in doing that. Chronic absenteeism, we have a D, which Ms. Garman has formed a committee. They're at the grade school, so they're working on different things that we can do, incentives, just different things like the high school to, you know, help our kiddos to get to school. And they are, you know, like Casey said, they can't get themselves to school. So we do contact the parent, you know, ask them if the parent doesn't call us and let us know why they're absent. So we're trying different things to help with our absenteeism.
Our middle school scores, academic achievement was at a C, academic growth C, ELPA progress B, chronic absenteeism B, and overall score C. I know that we are working with IXL and Reading Plus. Our English and language arts instructors are really excited about using both of those, and then in math we use the IXL, and we have used those and used incentives to encourage our kids to show more academic growth.
Sure.
High school scores, academic achievement C, ELPA progress C, chronic absenteeism a B, graduation D, and post-secondary opportunity C, and so the overall score is a C. And like Courtney said, there's so much detail that goes into breaking this stuff down. If any of you are actually interested in that, then we're happy to talk to you about that another time, because we have met with State Department, we have asked 100 million questions, because even if we're higher than the state average on some of this stuff, our grade is still like on the lower end, which again, like a lot of this doesn't make sense when you actually put it all together. So what we try to do is find out as much information as we can and improve things as much as we can. We're doing individualized ACT prep through IXL at the high school. I know we're working with those junior teachers specifically on all of those tests, practice tests. But if you want us to really talk through this, we'd be happy to, because we could talk about it forever, but we don't want to tonight. But happy to go through this with you guys sometime.
This is always very
yeah.
hard to gauge.
It is.
And so, you know, I always benchmark, cause it's the only way I know to gauge this stuff, and so it's like, so I guess I'm curious, is this good, bad, average? How do we compare with
It's
the?
hard to say.
It's hard to say, but like a lot of these things, even though our grade may be a C, we might be higher than the state average with our scores or whatever it may be, but the grade is still a C, even if we're higher than average.
And
And
if-
so,
And a lot of times if we have a State Department person with us and we say, can you show us how this is calculated, they say, no.
no. Can you tell us what score this, like how a
What is this
299
based
equals
on?
a 15 on the ACT? No, we
No,
can't.
we don't know.
We've asked. We've asked.
If they don't know, then who knows?
So it is frustrating. It's frustrating, especially when you know like how much time your teachers invest. And then when they look at that, your teachers are perfectionists, and so since, you know, the teachers, we're looking at that and we're seeing a C, a D, and we're feeling like that's almost like a direct shot at us. You know, when it's
personal.
yes, you know, when it's not, but it feels that way because we want our kids to be, you know, successful, and they are.
And they are.
But the A through F report card does not show that, and it almost feels like a game.
Yeah, and it basically is a reporting situation, and just like, you know, with our VOTEC kids, they're some of our most successful students. And then that's nowhere on an indicator, right? Look how successful these students are right out of high school, because they're working and they're doing great things.
I think, well, with Ryan, the class of 2019, that was a big class, and a lot of them did go to KTC. And Ms. Doris's grandson, my son, they went to OSU IT, and they're making great money.
And a great career.
Yeah, and there's a large percentage of that, those boys did, and they are making great money.
But
They're
that
very
doesn't-
successful.
And our student involvement, if you look at how many students we have who are involved in different things, both in middle school and high school, that to me is a really, really important thing here, to look at further student success, and that's nowhere on there.
So you're saying if they would've went to like a traditional college, it would count, where KTC and OSU Okmulgee doesn't, is that what?
Even the curriculum that they're on, so like if they go to KTC, typically they're on a different curriculum than college prep, right? It's like two different kind of gateway things,
You're talking about if they
pathways.
take a math course out there
Right,
compared to our
right,
math course
what their
here,
course
or
is
if it's
there,
high school.
and
That's what
so,
you're talking about.
but, again, that dockiness is not necessarily set in stone yet, but if it's not a
But
federal.
When they get to
Federal thing.
like OSU IT, they are taking college
Right.
math, college English,
Yeah.
all those.
Well, and
courses.
I've always wondered why KTC doesn't count as a post-secondary.
Post-secondary, yeah, I mean, cause it is, I mean, those students
That's
are.
post-secondary.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like I said.
they're working for certifications so that they can work,
Mhm.
but it's not counted.
And they're making money and being successful even sooner than our, you know, university students, right? And
So many
So
senior
many.
girls and boys. I
Mhm.
have CNAs who are already working at the nursing home,
Right.
but that doesn't count.
Right.
You know, so it's
it's hard
it's
for
a bit
everyone to
frustrating.
understand that this really doesn't show what who our kids are and what they're capable of doing. And so, but we're doing our best to navigate it so that we can try to improve it.
Absolutely. So, one of the ways that we've been doing that is, we've implemented IXL, throughout the grades. And just so that you kind of understand the next part, cause you talked about benchmark, let me see the benchmarks, you know. And so 100 points on IXL equals a grade level. So the first number, so the 1, then the 100th position equals the grade level, and then the next 2 numbers equal the month for that year. So like a 730 would be like 7th grade, 3rd month. So just, I hope that makes sense. So we've been using IXL district-wide for 3, or is it more?
It's either our third or fourth year.
Okay, so, district-wide, 3 or 4 years, and, we're still implementing, like, all the different ways that we can use it, like we just started this year with, the ACT test prep. I mean, like, that is a huge one now that we can use on IXL, but, really this helps to figure out where the student is, and then the student can work to raise their skills. So this was for the elementaries, if you want.
So if you look at K and 1, so kindergarten, first grade, you know, it has 38, so that's like 0.38. So they're not even like pre-K, they're pre-K level, but you have to take in mind that for kindergarten and first grade, that's them opening up a Chromebook, that's them logging on to iExcel, signing in, all these different things that steps they have to take before they can start answering the questions. And then they also have to sit there and they have to know the icon to push for it to read the question to them. So with kindergarten first, we also have to remember those are the early years that we're teaching them their fine motor skills. We want them doing more hands-on activities, more writing, you know, pencil grip, cutting, and different things on that. So so for the first parts, you know, them doing the 38, and then now they're at the, you know, 54 for math. So they've gained. So they are making progress even though they don't use that on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And if you look at 3rd and 4th grade, where that's in 2nd too, where we use that more, we don't use it as like, we use it more as we reinforce what was taught. So whatever was taught by that teacher may sign iExcel to go along to reinforce what was taught on there. On my part, I teach 3rd and 4th grade special ed. What I do, the first few minutes of class when they come in, they get on their recommendations. And what that is, when they step into the arena, that kind of puts them at their learning ability level. So when they come in my classroom, they'll get on their recommendation. So I may have a 3rd grader working on 1st grade work, but that's helping them build up to their grade level. So we have made gains in all of our areas in math and in ELA.
And so ideally, you would like to see,
Grade level.
Ideally you would, but realistically, you're looking for those increases, by semester. So, but here we see.
Yeah, here you'll see that they have made gains, and I have those percentages for you. So if you'll look at the 100, so that's 1 grade level. So we had, for math we had 7%, and then we had 8% had made gains. And so for the 150, so the year and a half, we had 2%, and then 2% in both of them. And then at the bottom we had, so 200 is going to be they made 2 grade level gains. And so that is at 2% and at 1%. Now this is overall. This is all K through 4th grade.
And this is first semester.
Yes, first semester
gains. And then here's the first semester growth at the middle school.
Okay, at the middle school, you can see the 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade math and ELA have all shown gains. When you go to the next slide, for math, from August to December should show about a 4-month gain, which is 40 points. We had 74.1%, I want to make sure I get that 0.1%, have at least 4 months growth in math and 51% in ELA for 1 full grade level in just 1 semester. I think is awesome. In math, we had 28.3% and ELA 16.7%. And for 1.5 years growth for math, it was 6.6% and ELA 4.3%. And with the 200 point gain, which is 2 years, some students had even greater than 2 years gain. I know that I saw it. Well, there's 1%. 1% had 2 years gain or more. I know that I have one student that gained 3 years. So
as you go down,
as of now, it may be.
Yeah.
As you go down, the more advanced, is
Right.
that?
Right. The more gain that there is, yeah.
The more gain, more
Yes,
advanced, I guess
this
is
from
what I'm
their
saying.
2 years.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
2
2 years
years.
and 4 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so, like ideally, you would want to see at least a 40-point jump is what you would like to see because, 4 months. And so that's kind of how you would gauge that is you hope to see like a 40-point jump is what you would like to see. It's tough because they are more motivated at times than others. And also, once you get to middle school, some of your kids are already topping out the program.
That's true.
So at middle school and high school, you're going to have some kids who are not going to be able to show growth because they are already at a 1300. So, so you do have, so it's not exact. It's not,
Even though
but
these are showing averages,
Mhm.
that doesn't mean that all of your kids are at this level.
yes.
This is including all students in that grade level.
Right.
Yeah, so this is, yes, this is an average, but what we hope to look for is we look at that and we're like, man, if we can see, an average of 40-point gain, then that's a great target to hit. So, so here's high school gains, you can see that, average-wise math, they really did well the first semester. We had, about 45% with ELA that gained what they needed to. We had, many over, 20 and then 25% that gained a grade level in 4 months. And then about 1% that gained a grade level and a half or 2 grade levels in 4 months. So test scores, they're tricky. You need data. But it definitely doesn't show you the whole story. And I remember about 2 months ago, there was this big, huge report that came out. It was all over the news about how all of a sudden, Oklahoma students were, scoring so poorly. And I was like, wait, I've been looking at data for 28 years, and this is not a new thing. This is not a new. This is something that we have been fighting, and something that we have been investing in, and something that we have been, working with for decades. It's not a new thing. Our kids just didn't all of a sudden bottom out or anything like that. Data being what it is, you have to use data. We need data. We want to analyze data, but we also want to know that it doesn't tell the whole story. So, anyway, okay. Any questions for us?
Look at me, I'm scared.
Oh, no.
I'm scared to ask, I might ask a dumb question.
No.
I don't want to get
No,
revealed.
I will tell you this. So, as far as like we're using IXL. Middle school and high school has implemented Reading Plus because reading is an issue. Our fluency, reading fluency is an issue. We have PLC. We've gotten really more involved in our PLC meetings the last few years. Vertical alignment, we're making more time for that, trying to make sure that everything is being built upon. And then, our induction meetings with our newbies, our new kids, which I call them kids, but, our young adults that are stepping into teaching for the first time. So we have a lot of things in place, and we are investing in our kids every single day. And we can show you a lot more data if you would like to see more data.
We know you're doing a good job.
Thank
Sure.
Thank you.
On the IXL,
Yes.
is there a certain students that, I don't want to say targeted, but can be looked at on a daily basis when at the end of the day, when they get their scores off their iPad or on their book, that I guess these
Evaluated?
students need, evaluated is
Uh-huh.
the word.
Yes.
These
Yes.
students need maybe 10%
Yes.
Yeah.
or 5% that
Mhm.
need an extra help.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
If there's something,
Mhm.
and I don't want to speak out of turn, that and you guys need help with, you guys are passionate about our children, and I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it for years, how passionate all our teachers are.
Mhm.
If there's something that we can help you guys with, all of y'all, I'm sure that we would be more than help. We'd be more than glad to help with anything.
Thank you.
And I wonder, that's my deal, is there some way to look at this, and maybe there's more help, or I don't know what it is, but you know, these kids are our future.
Right.
Y'all know that
And
better
something
than
neat
me.
about IXL is, it is so individualized that maybe one student's really great in vocabulary,
Yes,
right?
yes.
They don't need you to do all this work with them in
Yes.
vocabulary, but then the next student has great trouble with vocabulary.
Yes.
So the neat thing about IXL is it's literally personalized per kid.
Okay.
So we can see, you know, oh, this student really, their lowest is in vocabulary and reading comprehension,
Yeah.
for example. They get specific questions to build upon those areas
Right,
that
right.
they need help in. And that's why I feel like the program has been really great, is because it focuses on those areas where they need help, instead of just, okay, everybody's doing, which everybody needs, you know, every area all the time as well. But that's exactly what that program is based to do. And we can see that, hey, wow, this student is really struggling in this area.
And that's where, with the kids that I teach, that's where I go in when I'm writing their IEPs, that I use IXL to look at their levels where they're at, when I'm discussing this with their parents. And so when they do come to my classroom, like when they step in, like they do their arena and it shows them where they're at, and then they have to do their recommendation. I may have some that is working on first grade level, and I may have some that's working on third grade level.
Yes.
So it's specialized just for them.
Right.
And that also helps me to see where I need to help them meet their goals
Right.
more on it.
You know what, a lot of this, at the high school, I don't wanna speak for any other site, but at the high school, a lot of it boils down to a lot of scheduling. And we can find the kids, but then now, where are we gonna, how are we gonna schedule extra time? Or how are we going to come up with staff for an extra class? So we do look at that, but that is always a struggle, I would say, every year is, you know, we have like the Excel program, you know, where we're pulling kids out, and different things like that. So, I would say year to year, we always kind of reevaluate and try, like you said, well, okay, what's something, we know we've got the passion, but what would actually like benefit us the most, you know? And that is definitely something that we try to look at every year. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, great.
Any questions? You're always, I mean, and like, we're open books, so, I mean, you're welcome to email us anytime. I mean, any questions that you have, you know, if you wanna come be a guest reader, I mean, even my seniors love to be read to, so. Anyway, yeah.
We're doing chocolate week this week, just saying.
Oh,
Sixth graders are doing chocolate and math. You're
Now
welcome.
count me in on that. Count me out on the reading.
Okay. Well, yeah, okay.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
very
Thank
much.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
You can
Same here,
have
you
that.
guys get our email, phone number.
Oh, thank
phone
you.
Thank you
call.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, at this time, we move on to public comment. The Board of Education invites public comment at this point in the regular meeting. Comments concerning agenda items in accordance with policy BED-R. No one present for that. Information items, A, superintendent's report.
Okay, our first thing, our high school speech tournament won first place in 4A at the high school speech and debate tournament this weekend. We had 8 first place winners and 8 second place winners, and some of them are like combined.
Golly.
Really?
So if they're first and second, they qualify for regionals. So we had 8 first, 8 second, and some of those are like duets and things like that. They've also competed at tournament 8 of this weekend, so we hope to have more students, and some of the same students qualify for regionals in different competition categories. So there's 4 categories they can do in different ones. I'll do that, but they're doing a great job. And you know, remember last time we won first place like that, a really big deal. Our basketball seasons have games tonight, and the last regular season is Thursday night against Sallisaw, which will be senior night. And we will go to Muldrow on February 21st for our district matchup with Muldrow. Our student absence numbers have been decreased so far this week, so I know it's just Monday, but they're better than they were last week. So we hope we're moving through flu seasons. Everyone is getting better. We still have some staff out, but currently we are able to maintain in-person teaching, which is our goal. That's what we want to stay at. Our grade school addition is very close. The main thing left is the front drive and parking lot. Still working on that, but I think it was kind of in between the contractor, a concrete guy, and the civil engineer. They want the fall to be right and all that. Concrete guy, he's worried about a little bit of puddling, but it's going to be good. We just needed them to agree, and I think they finally got agreed, and so.
You can't get the engineers to agree, man. That's
Imagine
surprising.
that.
I can't
Imagine
believe
that.
Where's this electric guy again?
Fort Smith.
Fort Smith. God, that's the last thing.
Yeah.
Cowster for some reason.
Estimated date, move in?
Move-in could be in a couple of weeks, because the interior is pretty well done.
Okay.
And so we won't be able to move the offices until the concrete's done, but we're going to kind of start. I think Melanie said we'll kind of move the second grade in first, and then so the fourth grade got to move into their rooms, and it's going to kind of take a little bit. But
I think you reported this earlier. Sorry, I'm always several
That's
steps
okay.
back. Did you say on the new building that we had like 600,000 or 700,000 left to pay, and then it was over?
about 700,000.
700,000. Okay.
Yes. So we will be, I don't think we'll ever drop below $1 million in our budget now, since we should get our
That's amazing.
Redbud fund any day now. It's 200 and, what I said, 200 something thousand.
Yeah.
Should be, it's been allocated, so it should be any day now.
Good job.
So, yeah, we can stay above that. It'd be great. And the architects came, kind of look at kind of an overall plan for the building with the first and fourth, put a new roof and a kind of another walkway,
Corridor.
Corridor.
To the first
Thank you.
grade.
To the first grade, right, all the way around. We'll kind of see what that is. And so he should have that in a couple weeks. And so we're moving.
That's awesome.
That's about all. Yeah, I think a couple weeks on the, so we're gonna move in before the concrete's done, with the weather and all that, but we won't be able to open the offices until that. But, so if you ever wanna walk through it, let me know. They've done their punch list, and now we can go through it.
Is it locked?
It's not locked, but
Okay.
it's kind
Well, I
of,
started to stop a couple of times. I
Yeah.
went by actually
I know it's
earlier.
getting close to being locked.
it's close. It's
Yeah.
close, but I think we can, yeah.
Coach Hollingshed?
he is, still, I had a doctor's appointment today and still kind of unsure of everything.
Okay.
He can be out a little bit longer.
Okay.
Still some weakness and some numbness.
Okay.
Not really sure.
Okay.
That's the superintendent's report.
All right. This time we move on to action topics. Action topic A, consideration of approval of the fiscal year 24 audit. We've already done that.
Did that.
Yeah, okay. Action topic B, consideration of revision of the 24-25 school year.
Okay, this is to revise the calendar due to the inclement weather in January. We were out of school on January 9th and 10th. To make these up, we took a virtual day on the 9th, and we use our built-in minutes to make up the day we missed on January 10th.
Make a motion that we accept the revised school calendar.
Second.
Who seconded it? Kenny. Motion made by Jennifer, seconded by Kenny to accept the revised 24-25 school calendar. Jennifer?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Consideration of the school calendar for the 25-26 school year.
Okay, now, we handed one out because I had the spring break on the wrong date. And that one was a week later, but it's pretty much exactly the same as this year, except, and this is kind of goes back to what they were talking about, we moved our professional day from that last day in December to the first day in January. And the reason we did that is, we've been doing that teacher appreciation, that's great, and we're still gonna kind of keep trying to go with that, but we need to take some time to look at our data on our professional days, and it's hard to get anybody to really focus on data that last day. But I think on that first day back, everybody's ready to go. We have a, full semester we're really getting into, and I think that'd be a good day to kind of really go into the data when that day before Christmas is not a good time to really come up with great ideas. So basically, it's the same as this year except for that professional day.
I make a motion, we approve the 25-26 school calendar.
I'll second. Motion made by David, seconded by Jennifer to accept the school calendar for the 25-26 school year. David?
Yes.
Jennifer? Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Action topic D, consideration of approval of the dropout report.
Okay, this is for school year 22-23. Our dropout percentage is 3.9 for the high school and 2.6 for the district. If you use the state definition, our dropout percentage is 3.3%. In the state definition, what they excludes students over 18 as of October 1st of the previous school year. So I believe the year before this, we were at 3.8, so it's pretty well about the same as it has been.
You know, and that's another thing, and I know that obviously you want this 0, but I mean, are these acceptable, comparable? I mean, how do
Well, I
you?
mean, like I said, you always want 0. There's gonna be a percentage. We'll just keep working to get it lower. So some of you just, I mean, honestly, it's hard to, but there's so many options. There's so many options out there that.
There's state average, you know?
Well, and that's, the report right now is just a bunch of dashes. They don't have it updated. So I've got what we did, and if they ever change it, I will bring that up, but it doesn't show like a state average.
Why isn't it closer to, I mean,
Ah.
22, 23, you know?
It's so late.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know. I don't know. Part of that is that 4, 5, and 6 year deal. And also if they go get their GED, it's considered dropout.
Oh, really?
So, I mean, it's a,
I didn't know that.
and they were talking about that graduation rate also. That's a state plan, the reason that the Fed said that. So all our state just needs to fix it. And they've been in talks, and I think they will.
Do we need to talk to our legislatures?
Well, right now it's with the higher ed regions. And
So,
so,
but can't they
yeah,
do
they
something,
can
they
help.
can do something about
Yeah,
that?
so it's something I think they're looking at, but it's not really the feds that are, it's because our state plan says that it's not the same as the college prep. So in our, obviously the career tech people are on it. So, I don't know, you kind of have faith in them, but you don't. I mean, but that's something that's working on. I mean, that's something we can fix in Oklahoma.
I would think that if they did recognize the core programs, that, they would get more money. Tech schools would get more federal funding
Right.
if they would, so I would think that would be a focus for them to try to get that to be recognized as.
And like I said, I think they will. That hadn't been a big concern because they said they would, but, just like our teachers, they're worried the heck about it. And you try to say, well, they say, well, I know, but, we don't, but. And also at this time, normally we would do our remediation report, but that's not up yet either. So I don't, as soon as they have that, I'll bring that.
Make a motion, we approve the dropout report.
Second.
Made by Brett, seconded by Kenny to approve the dropout report. Brett?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Action topic E, consideration of adoption of electronic signatures / FDAAA policy.
Okay, this is, we've started our online enrollment, and there's several federal forms that to do electronic signatures, we have to have a board policy in place that says we accept electronic signatures. So this policy basically states we can't accept electronic signatures.
From whom?
From my parents. Like when they go on to fill out, like, one big one is like a 506, that's an Indian Ed form.
Yeah.
They've got to sign it, and if it's not physically signed, like by handwritten, right now, we can't send that in. We can accept, if we have a board policy that says we can accept it, and there's some caveats to that. I mean, it's not like, you just click something, like you do when you go on there and it kind of put it in cursive or whatever. But this just says we can't accept it, so when we send those forms up, they can accept them.
Okay. Make the most we adopt the electronic signatures FDAAA policy.
I'll second.
Motion made by Kenny, seconded by Jennifer to adopt the electronic signatures FDAAA policy. Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Action topic F, consideration of approval of high school band trip to Branson, Missouri on May 22nd through the 23rd, 2025. Students will be transported by school activity buses.
Okay, this is the band, they want to go to Branson, and so This motion would allow the band to take the trip and take buses out of state for their band trip.
I make a motion to approve the high school band trip to Branson, Missouri on May 22nd, 23rd of 2025, and for the students to be transported by school activity buses.
I'll second.
Motion made by David, seconded by Jennifer, to approve the high school band trip to Branson, Missouri on May 22nd through the 23rd, 2025. Students will be transported by school activity buses. David?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Action topic G, consideration of proposal from Rebel Sign Company for purchase and installation of elementary school outdoor LED signage. The funds for the purchase of this sign were donated by the Jerry G. Jackson Foundation.
Okay, the Jerry Jackson Foundation approved $26,325 for the purchase of a digital sign to be placed in front of the new grade school addition. This sign's very similar to the one at the middle school, and we really appreciate this donation. I think it's going to really look great.
So they're gonna be
Really
putting
nice.
announcements and what's
Right,
going
it'd
on.
be just like the one at the
Yeah,
middle
that's
school.
awesome.
Yeah, I really like the one at middle school.
Yeah, it's kind of neat, really neat.
So make a motion to approve the Rebel Sign Company for purchase and installation of the elementary school outdoor LED signage.
Second.
Motion made by Kenny, seconded by Brett, to approve the Rebel Sign Company to purchase and install the elementary school outdoor LED signage. Funds for the purchase of the sign were donated by Jerry G. Jackson Foundation. Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Action topic H, consideration of approval of investment.
Okay, this is our investment. It's $1 million, and the investment matures on February 25th. The banks will not quote us rates this early, so I need approval to renew it at the best available rate on that date. And we will still do $1 million for 6 months.
So make a motion, we approve reinvesting the $1 million at the best possible rate at maturity.
Second.
Motion
Is that
made
with
by
the motion?
Yeah.
Brett, seconded by David, to approve the investment of our CD, $1 million CD, to Farmer State Bank. Brett?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And Susie, yes.
I didn't think
Did you
it was at that bank yet.
Farmer
Is
State
it-
Bank?
Was the motion the best available rate, period, or the best available rate at Farmer State Bank?
Oh, that period. We'll get all the area banks.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right, that's,
She
that's,
said Farmers Day,
Oh.
though.
okay.
Did I-
Currently, it's with Farmers, but it's
Okay.
the best available rate that
Okay.
we.
That's what threw me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I was just looking at the attachment on there,
Okay.
so, okay,
Yeah, currently it's with Farmers, but it's whichever one gives us.
whichever, okay.
Right, it's at 4.9 right now. I don't think it'll stay
I
there,
wish it
but
would.
I wish it
Wish it
would.
would too. Did I finish the approval, did I finish the motions? Okay. All right, at this time we move on to executive session. A, proposed executive session to discuss and act upon the following business pursuant to 25 Oklahoma statute 307B1 of the Open Meeting Act. Number one, discussion of retirement of Connie Thompson, middle school teacher, effective end of 24-25 school year. Number two, discussion of resignation of Jamie Hoffman, middle school secretary, effective February 6th, 2025. Number three, discussion to employ a high school football coach for the 25-26 school year. And number four, discussion to employ additional personnel for the 21st century after-school program for the remainder of the 24-25 school year.
Make a motion to be in executive session.
Second.
Motion made by Kenny, seconded by Brett at 6:49 PM to convene an executive session. Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Yeah, David, you were looking at me, so. Motion made by Kenny, seconded by David to return the board to open session at 7:10 PM. Members present during executive session were David Huggins, Brett Orm, Kenny Whitson, Jennifer Turner, and Susan White. Superintendent Dr. Tom Kettles was also present. No motions nor votes were taken.
Can we lump these two together?
The dates are different, I think.
I make a motion that we accept the retirement of Connie Thompson, middle school teacher, effective end of 2024-25 school year.
Second.
Motion made by Jennifer, seconded by David, to accept the retirement of Connie Thompson, middle school teacher, effective end of 24-25 school year. Jennifer?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
And Susie, yes.
I make a motion that we accept the resignation of Jamie Hoffman, middle school secretary, effective February 6, 2025.
Second.
Motion made by Jennifer, seconded by Brett, to accept the resignation of Jamie Hoffman, middle school secretary, effective February 6, 2025. Jennifer?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes.
Make a motion to appoint Johnny Easton as high school football coach for the 25-26 school year.
Second.
Motion made by Kenny, seconded by Brett, to employ Johnny Easton, high school football coach for the 25-26 school year. Kenny?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes.
Make a motion, we approve the employment of Riley Williams and Kennedy Spradley for the 21st Century After School Program for the remainder of the 24-25 school year.
Second.
You can have it.
Motion made by David, seconded by Brett, to employ Riley Williams and Kennedy Spradley for the 21st Century After School Program for the remainder of the 24-25 school year. David?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Any new business?
No new business.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Who did that? Brett?
Go. Yeah, it don't matter.
Motion made by Jennifer, seconded by Brett, to adjourn at 7:12 p.m. Jennifer?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
And Susie, yes. Next regular meeting, March 10th, 2025.
I make a motion that Whitson goes around and gets my car and drives it up to the front door, so I don't get wet.